Good afternoon, David. Thank you
Hey.
so much for joining us today on the SDG Impact Stories platform.
Hi, I'm David Auerbach. I'm one of the co-founders of Sanergy, based here in Nairobi, Kenya. I've lived in Kenya now for over 10 years, but originally from the US and raised in the UK. And we developed Sanergy while we were graduate students at MIT.
Amazing. So please tell me more about Sanergy in just a few words. What's the mission or the purpose?
Sure. Sanergy cleans up fast-growing cities by converting organic waste streams into valuable agricultural inputs, like insect protein for animal feeds, organic fertilizer for horticulture, and biomass briquette as a sustainable fuel.
Right. So you've already kind of mentioned what the problem is. Would you care to elaborate on what the current challenges are that you've identified in Kenya, maybe? Because that's how you developed, I think, your idea from when you were at MIT, and maybe globally. What are the common issues or gaps that you see?
Sure. So in emerging markets, fast-growing cities, over 60% of the waste is organic. This can be everything from food waste to kitchen waste to sanitation waste. And that's very true for a place like Nairobi, where we have over 2,000 tons of waste every single day generated, and over 60% of that can be reused very comfortably. And if this waste is not being collected, it pollutes the rivers, it pollutes the environment, it pollutes food systems. And instead, what we're doing is actually taking this resource and converting it into something valuable for agricultural production. Now, Kenya has another challenge, which on the agriculture front is that it's not producing enough food from its tired soils. And so what needs to happen is that you do need you need to add organic fertilizers into the soils to strengthen it. And same with similar challenges around livestock production, chickens, fish, and such. You need to be able to provide good quality protein. All of that was previously imported, and now what we are doing is producing this domestically, ensuring that Kenya's farmers are growing more, which of course ensures that there's more food and feed, and of course farmers become wealthier as a result.
Thank you so much. It was a big question. If you don't mind going back on the issue of waste, what are the negative outcomes for these populations, and also why do we have fast-growing cities? Yeah. It's probably an obvious question, but it's interesting to know.
Well, we have fast-growing cities because this is where the jobs are. So cities become economic centers. As a result, industry develops here, and this is where people move towards. So this is a typical challenge that we're seeing. As people are moving into cities, of course, there's more waste, but also people are living more closely to one another. And so that creates risks too. And so with that waste, if it's left out in the open, and there's a range of challenges. One, it releases noxious gases into the atmosphere. Two, it pollutes the rivers and waterways, which is often where causing all sorts of public health and environmental damage too.
Okay, so now going back to Sanergy, could you please elaborate a little more with further details on what Sanergy is doing and how it's addressing this global problem?
Sure. So it starts with us collecting residual organics, and we collect north of 150 tons per day. This is all sorts of waste streams, such as market waste, kitchen waste, agri-waste, sanitation waste. So we take all of the waste to our large processing plant on the outskirts of Nairobi. There, we are making 3 products. The first of these products is insect protein. So we raise a species called black soldier fly larvae. And these black soldier fly larvae eat organic matter. And they just eat. And they get big and fat. And then we harvest them, pasteurize, and dry them. And they are 40% protein. And that protein, while tasty for you, is actually really tasty for like chicken and fish. And so we then sell that to livestock farmers, as well as to feed millers who put them into their specialty mixes. The insects leave behind a residue, and that residue is called frass, and we compost that into a nutrient-rich organic fertilizer. This organic fertilizer we sell to agri-vets. So these are like mom and pop farm shops that are selling things like seed and fertilizer and these types of products. And they then sell them on to smallholder farmers. What this does is increases crop yields by about 30%. So it's really valuable for the farmer, getting the most out of their soil and really strengthening it. The last part is that we are able to take the residue, the frass, and compress it into biomass briquettes. And these biomass briquettes can be replacing everything from unsustainable fuels to forest and timber, and replacing timber, which is of course being cut down unsustainably. So we then sell that on to local factories. So those are all of the end products that we're producing. And the nice thing about everything that we're doing is it has tremendous environmental impact and offsets lots and lots of tons of carbon emission too. And so that's the next endeavor for us, is also participating in the carbon markets as a company.
So as your company matures in time, you see other parts in the value chain where you can apply circular economy, if I understand well. That's amazing. And if I may ask, why did you choose, when you were developing the idea back in MIT, why did you choose Kenya?
Yeah, we chose Kenya for a few reasons. I mean, first of all, the waste management challenge is huge. Second of all, the agriculture challenge is huge. But then on top of all of that, Kenya is just a great place to set up. There's like a really supportive environment for entrepreneurship, and there's just like a really incredibly talented workforce too. Yeah. And so it enabled us to build a great team to be able to execute on this vision.
Amazing. So how would you say Sanergy is perhaps working with the government, or what are the type of partnerships you have or collaborations?
Yeah, so we work with the government on a number of fronts. At the simplest level, we collect from markets that the government runs, where people are selling vegetables and things like that. In a more complicated way, we're working with the government on a lot of policy. And this ranges from everything from the regulatory environment around selling black soldier fly larvae to promoting circular economy, which is a very important part of Kenya's green climate agenda.
Right. That's very interesting because I think as a company that now Sanergy is pretty established in Kenya, right? It's ranked first, I think, in waste management and other categories. So having this power in this country, you can kind of lobby with the government.
Yeah, I mean, we think about it as collaborating with the government more than anything, because, what we're doing is great right now. We are collecting 150 tons of residual organics per day. That's just in Nairobi, though. There's plenty of other cities across the country that this needs to scale up to. Yeah. And if you're able to work with the government effectively, that is the fastest route to scale.
Yeah, definitely. And you're providing the specialized expertise. So I have this question out of the box.
Yeah.
You are right now focused on Nairobi, right? How many years would you say you would still need to cover all of Kenya?
So actually not that long. I mean, okay. For our model, it makes sense for us to focus on some larger cities, although we are thinking about ways that we could serve smaller cities. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty straightforward for us to be able to effectively coordinate the waste collection in a city, and then also to be able to process it into these end products. We've spent the last few years developing the competency and the ability to be able to actually do every step of our model. Yeah. And so now we're in a great position to be able to expand. And we don't even think about this just in Kenya. We say, okay, how does this expand across East Africa and the rest of Africa? Yeah.
Amazing. So when do you think you'll be able to expand in other countries, and which countries would you focus on? Yeah,
I mean, so the expansion work is starting. We're looking at expanding throughout Kenya later this year into a couple of other cities. But then at the same time, we're also looking at expanding into parts of East Africa, West Africa, and Southern Africa.
Amazing. So you've already mentioned a bit of the impact that you've had. Do you have any numbers in mind, or also could you tell us more on how you measure the impact that you have?
So our expansion goals, over the next 5 years, we expect to be in 6 different countries. Amazing. We expect to be processing over 1 million tons of waste per year. Mm-hmm. We expect to be offsetting more than 500,000 tons of carbon emissions every year. and benefiting over 50,000 farmers with our work.
And so the tons of waste that you talk about, just so that we have an idea, how many people does that, what's the like representation in terms of number of people?
Well, so it's not just, obviously it's not just sanitation waste. So, but, you know, I mean, when you're, you know, Nairobi as a city produces, you know, somewhere a couple million tons per year, right? And so if you're doing north of 1 million tons, you're looking at serving 2.5, 3 million people.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So with Sanergy, what else are you trying to achieve?
Well, I mean, ultimately with Sanergy, we're trying to achieve like, you know, a total mindset shift. Right now, you know, hasn't really been thought through how we're going to solve the waste management challenge in fast-growing cities. And if we're able to change the narrative such that the vast, vast majority of the waste is being reused and upcycled, you know, not only does that solve the short-term problem, it also creates a lasting way to improve people's lives, but also, you know, other challenges around food security and such. And so this, I think, is, you know, this is an amazing opportunity, but one that does require changing hearts and minds. And so, you know, and so that's what we're all about.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that when you talk about waste management, you really need a support system. So what you're creating, because personally, some people can take the time to compost or whatever, recycle, but at the end, we're also not educated enough on how to manage the waste. So if you come with a tool, it facilitates something for everyone.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I agree with that.
So my last question is, could you describe Sanergy in 3 words?
Sure. Circular economy realized.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Do you have any last comments or thoughts or advice you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess my main piece of advice is, you know, as you hear me talking about the need for mindset shifts, you know, thinking about what you as, you know, as a student, as a business leader, as a government official, what you can be doing differently, you know, and that mindset shift often begins, or that mindset shift can begin with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, David.
Great.